Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the Army-Navy game. Army Black Knights go head-to-head with the Navy Midship, an American classic that dates all the way back to 1890. The Armchair Quarterbacks Radio Network will be there bringing you the action. Army-Navy, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/@BravesCountry.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac McGee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey Braves Country, this is Mac McGee with Braves Country Radio. We are bringing you pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves all year long. Please like and subscribe today. It's free, and it helps us bring you more of the game we all love. Braves Country Radio, your home for the classic call of Braves Country Baseball.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the Army-Navy game. Army Black Knights go head-to-head with the Navy Midship. An American classic that dates all the way back to 1890. The Armchair Quarterbacks Radio Network will be there bringing you the action. Army-Navy, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/@BravesCountry. Brand new for the 2024 Braves Country Radio broadcast season. Along with pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play, the classic call of Braves Country Baseball, we will bring you a live pregame show and postgame show, and the phone lines wide open for you to call, react, or ask your questions along with the chat. That's Braves Country today pregame, Braves Country tonight postgame. We'll see you in 2024.
You're in Braves country.
Good afternoon, Braves country. Well, how about it? The Atlanta Braves are already off and running at the winter meetings. If you missed that, we'll get into it here in just a second. We're going to talk about the big trade the Atlanta Braves made. What does that mean for the Braves going forward? I do not believe that means that we are done. I do believe this is just the beginning, and we will continue to keep an eye on this. And if you are, if you didn't get the memo earlier, we are doing Braves Country Radio live every single day this week at 4:00 on our Braves Country Radio YouTube channel. If you are watching us on the PSF app, or if you're listening to us on radio, you can catch us live every single day this week at 4:00. We're going to come on because with the winter meetings, it's not just going to be what the Braves do, but it's going to be what other teams do. But the Braves have the first shot across the bow, and it's pretty interesting too. If you listen to some of the guys in the know, that it appears that this is just the beginning of what is to come for not just a sign of a future trade, but it could be free agency. Now, there was a report earlier today about Shohei Otani. The Braves are still in on Shohei Otani. More on that here in a little bit. We're going to talk about what does this move mean for Atlanta, because they're not done with their pitching, if that's what you think. They did not bring in Marco Gonzalez as a piece to be in the rotation, and we're good, and we'll go ahead and move forward. This is just the beginning, and we're going to get into that here in just 1 second. But before we get into any of this, I did want to talk about the major piece of this trade, and that is Jared Kelenic. He is an outfielder. He is a highly thought of prospect for years. And remember, he was once an a New York Met. He was once in the New York Met organization, and he was a part of that trade that sent the Edwin Diaz to the Mets. These were the two key pieces of that trade. It was Jared Kelenic went to Seattle, and Diaz went to the Mets. Now, there were other pieces involved and whatnot, but those were the two main pieces. He's only 24 years old. You got a lot to look forward to when it comes to Kelenic, and the great thing about him is this, or at least this to me is a huge upside with him. First of all, he's coming to a team where he no longer has to be the guy. You know, when you're in Seattle's lineup, and I know you got Julio Rodriguez in that lineup as well, but there was a lot of pressure on him to perform. They still have control over Jared Kelenic until 2028. And if they can get out of him what they think they can get out of him, this could be a major piece going forward for the Atlanta Braves. This could be a move that could spell a lot of things. One of the things that it could spell is, first of all, you might be able to now just platoon Kelenic against righties and put Vaughn Grissom in. It may not be a straight righty-lefty platoon, but that's essentially what you could do against Kelenic's numbers. We'll do it in a second, but Kelenic's numbers against right-handed pitching is much better than against left-handed pitchers. Now they're hoping he develops, and down the road and in this Braves lineup that a lot of that will change. But as far as what it looks like going forward, they've got him at age 24 for the 2024 season. And so you can do the math. It's really easy math to do. We've got him until 2028. He'll be 28 years old. He's in a pre-arbitration year right now. But he's going to have his first arbitration year is next season for 2025. And then, of course, 3 more after that. So that's what you're looking at with Kalenic. He's only been in the majors sparingly. He's a left-handed bat. He's not a switcher. He's a left-handed bat and throws left-handed. He was drafted number 6 overall in the 2018 draft. So there's a lot to like when it comes to Jared Kalenic, and I'm hopeful. The one thing that I'll say about this is that his last year, this past season, was his best season. And if you look at his numbers for this past season, he had 11 home runs. Now, this is in 372 at-bats. So, obviously, it wasn't a full season. Some of that was platoon. I also knew he was banged up a little bit. But all in all, 372 at-bats. Hit a 253 average, 11 home runs. If you project that out for an entire season, you're talking about just under 20 home runs. You're talking about a guy who's got an OPS of 656, which you don't love that, but he's also 24 years old. And I also believe that if they have him platooning, you're going to see his OPS go up quite a bit. Quite a bit. And if they can have him go in there, and you got to figure nowadays, right-handed pitchers, there's so few left-handed pitchers left-handed starting pitchers in Major League Baseball that you got to figure Kalenic will probably start close to 100 games. Now, they may do a true platoon with him and Grissom because it's going to be hard to keep Vaughn Grissom's bat out of the game. The biggest thing with Grissom is that he's got to make sure that he comes in ready to play a strong left field. And then you know how these seasons work. They're going to play the hot hand. They always do. So with all that being said, you've got one of, if not the biggest piece being Kalenic, but there's other pieces in this trade. You've got in this trade, Marco Gonzalez comes over to the Atlanta Braves. Now, Marco Gonzalez hasn't been a lot to write home about, but we'll get into his numbers here in a second. Marcos Gonzalez is a guy that he's a left-hander. You can't quite call him a journeyman because he's been with Seattle for quite some time, but he's not a guy that is going to move the needle per se. But at the same token, he's a guy that the Braves may be able to piece together in another trade. And there was an article out by Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic that is pointing to that very thing. They believe that he is being brought in to be moved. And one of the rumors of where he could be going, well, there's two major rumors with that, and it makes a ton of sense. Marco Gonzalez could be heading to the White Sox, or he could be heading to the Rays, and the Braves may have to take on quite a bit of his salary. Seattle is sent $4.5 million to the Braves on August 1st as a part of this trade. Now, he's owed $12 million for the entire season, but 4.5 will be sent to the Braves on August 1st. So that means that the Braves are taking on what, $7.5 million? The other part of this, is Evan White, and we'll get into that in a second. But what it really looks like from listening to a couple of Seattle guys, listening from just across the board, what it really sounds like is that the Atlanta Braves are doing we're taking on a salary dump from the Mariners. Now, why are the Mariners do that? Does that mean that the Seattle Mariners are going to go out there and spend some money in the offseason, and that's why they're wanting to move some money? It's a possibility if you're a Mariners fan. I doubt it. Typically, when teams do this, they are clearing money for future moves, meaning it may not happen this year. Evan White, a part of the deal, who is an infielder, has $17 million guaranteed on his contract. We'll hit up his contract here in a second. But when you look at this and you look at, the Marco Gonzalez and what he's owed over the rest of his tenure, he has got a $12 million due to him this year. Next year, it's a $15 million club option, which obviously, whether it's the Braves or it's whoever the Braves trade him to, I doubt anyone picks that up. He's only 32 years old. When I first heard about this trade, I was thinking Marco Gonzalez was a little older. He's been in the league a long time. But he's not a guy that really is going to move the needle on a big, in other words, he can't be a part that one piece for a big trade. He's going to be a part of a deal. Typically, what it appears to be, they are going to move him to a team that is still going to have to eat innings in 2024. So he'll be a part of that trade, and the Braves will probably pay the majority of his contract. That's essentially what's going on. If not, then the Braves are going to give their high-end prospects in the deal. But when you hear Rosenthal, and you heard a couple other writers today talk about how it is widely believed that Marco Gonzalez will never wear an Atlanta Braves uniform, it seems like that's pretty much on point with everything else that's being reported. So with that being said, you got to look at the big picture of this, and the Braves are moving some guys around. I really feel like, look, I talked about this earlier in the year, but I feel like that there's a big move coming. And you do wonder if it's going to happen this week, because there's a couple of things that are out there that are kind of holding it up. First of all, the Rule 5 draft is this week. And until the Rule 5 draft finishes up, it's going to be very difficult for some teams to make moves. So a lot of teams are waiting for that Rule 5 draft, which takes place on Wednesday. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means that there are certain players in play that teams may be waiting to see what happens with the Rule 5 draft. The other thing is this. With the Kalenic and possibly Grissom platoon, you're essentially set in left field. But what happens if Vaughn Grissom becomes a part of a trade to, whether it's the White Sox for Cease or whether it's the Tampa Bay Rays for Glasnow? Then we're going to have to recalibrate everything that we know to be true. What do we have here? So talked about that at the top of the show, axe throwing. For people who are listening on radio and on the PSF app and whatnot, I'm responding to the YouTube chat. And anyone there, that wants to dive into the chat, please do, because all questions and comments are welcome. There was a report today that was released around 10 o'clock this morning, and it appears that the Braves are still in on Otani. Now, here's the thing about Otani. I got a couple of notes on him. I'm going to get to him in 1 second, but there's some things that you can kind of read the tea leaves on Otani as far as, remember something, he's holding a lot of this up. It's not just where does Otani go, but guys like Snell and whatnot, all the big name free agents, this happens every year. When you got the big fish out there on the market, usually you're waiting for that big fish to get landed for all the other dominoes to fall. So in other words, when it was Aaron Judge last year, everybody was waiting on Aaron Judge. Once Aaron Judge moved, then the next thing you know, Carlos Correa was on the move, et cetera, et cetera. So Otani, we were being led to believe that this was the week that they were going to have him signed by the winter meetings. I've got some information on that I'll get into here in a second. It does not look like that's going to be the case. It's going to be really difficult to pull that off. So, okay, let's go ahead and go into the trade itself. Marco Gonzalez. The Braves get Gonzalez. They get Kelenic. And then the other part of the trade was Evan White. Now, Evan White, it's once again a salary dump. It really is. I mean, when you look at what Evan White could bring to the table for the Atlanta Braves, you wonder, okay, here are his contract details. And I don't know why he got such a good deal at such a young age, but evidently they tried to lock him up early on in his career, and he just hasn't panned out to be the player they thought he was going to be. That's the short of it. This year, he has a salary of $7 million. He has the rest of his contract. Next year, 2025, $8 million. And then in 2026, club option. They were banking on him being a really good player, and the club options are $10, $11, and $12 million a piece. They go up each year. That's not really what has happened with Evan White. Evan White is a guy who, we'll get to his numbers here in a second, but Evan White is a guy who, over his career, obviously, I'll put it to you this way. If Evan White was the end all that beats all, I don't think a lot of people would be running around Googling, who the hell is Evan White? And, why the Braves got him? He plays first base. He is a right-hander, but he plays first base. And I've heard that he can play a little bit in the corner outfield or whatnot. They haven't talked about it much, but this feels like another guy that's going to be on the move. He really does. He seems like, what is he? He's 27 years old, I believe. And his numbers are nothing to write home about. When you look at what he's done, 2020, he had an OPS of 599, 202 plate appearances. 2021, he had an OPS of 439, 104 plate appearances. Now, he still has some options, and he can be sent to the minors, and he is sitting there. He has not played in the major leagues the past 2 years. Some of it is ability. There's also been injury involved with him as well. This is a guy that they may just be absorbing his salary to be able to get Kelenic, to be able to move him as a part of a piece down the road. I can't imagine he's going to be a big, exciting piece for anybody, but for a team like the White Sox who come a-calling, I really have my doubts Evan White's ever going to see a Braves uniform. But the rest of the move, Marco Gonzalez, it's already been rumored, if you're just joining us, it's already been rumored that he is never going to see the light of day in an Atlanta Braves uniform. He's going to get moved possibly this week, and if not this week, sometime in the offseason, he's going to be a part of some move. Now, if the Braves do get stuck with him, and I know that's probably a bad way to put it, but if the Braves can't move him, he is a guy that can go out there and eat innings. I kind of would think where the Braves are and what they're trying to accomplish, he would be a guy they would probably put in the bullpen as a long man. But it sounds like more than anything else, they're going to make a move. And they had to have the extra arms, because when you make a trade, let's say we trade for Dylan Cease or Glasnow, and there's a couple other guys out there that have been rumored, but those to me are the two elite rumors. If that happens, the team that is going to give you Cease, White Sox, or Glasnow, Rays, they've got to have someone eat some innings. So it could be a very expensive move by the Braves, especially if it is Dylan Cease. But there has been some pretty strong rumors that there is some big time interest by the White Sox in a couple of these guys. And in fact, I saw one of the reporters out in Seattle said that the White Sox have been kicking the tire on Jarred Kelenic. So could he be a part of a move that brings in Dylan Cease? All these things are in play. The one thing we do know, they're not done. And the folks that tried to tell you that the Braves were done last week, I saw a lot of a lot of content where they're like, well, this is it. This is what they're going to go with. You got to understand it never made any sense. They weren't making these moves, getting rid of Kyle Wright, moving money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, most of the time, everyone else is out there playing checkers, and Anthopoulos is out there playing 3D chess. He's got moves upon moves, and he's trying to move things around. I think there's interest. I would think that Kelenic is a guy that stays, but we don't know how much of an interest there is of Kelenic on not just the White Sox front. But remember, Jarred Kelenic at one point was one of the top prospects in all of baseball. So there's a possibility that this could be a carrot they're going to dangle. And you might be moving him to be able to bring in the starting pitching you need, and then you figured out the free agency market as far as the bats go. There was also a pretty interesting report that I saw that the idea was they are moving guys around, trying to bring in a starting pitcher without spending a lot of money because they're going heavy into the Otani market. Okay, let's go ahead and address that. First of all, Shohei Otani, and I know he went out there and said, if it's rumored, if your guys are telling folks about what I'm up to, we're going to hold it against you in negotiation. Horse hockey, whoever pays the most he'll sign with. But that's just the threat from his camp, because he's a very private guy. It's just, he comes from a different culture, and he doesn't necessarily embrace the limelight that he gets and that he's going to continue to get. But the rumors are this. Most believe he has visited with the Cubs, whether it was in person in Chicago or visited with them in some capacity. There was a report this weekend that Shohei Otani was in San Francisco talking to the Giants. And that same reporter was leaking that he felt like, or was being told, that he was going from San Francisco to meet with the Dodgers. And I've been hedging my bets for over a year. I've been talking about this for a year and a half. I've always said that I believe he's going to end up as an LA Dodger. But that same reporter said, do not count out the Atlanta Braves. That the Braves are making a strong push for him. And that right there, you talk about would put the absolute world on its ears that would be it. They brought in Otani, and they could save some money across the board if they were able to move Gonzalez in any kind of a trade. Now, here's the tricky part. If you went out and let's say you had Otani, you still haven't fixed your starting pitching. And if you bring in Glasnow, they're literally doing it for money. So they're not going to eat any of the money that Glasnow's owed. Glasnow's owed $25 million this year. So that's going to be a mess in itself. So I would tend to think that because he's going to be a little cheaper, if we were really going to do some super move, some huge move, this would be my prediction. If it involves Otani, that it's more likely we end up with Dylan Cease because he's a little cheaper. And he's got one more controllable year. What was the other? I know it's hard for us to wrap our head around it, but remember something. Last winter meeting, I talked about the fact that of all the big players that were moving and shaking and going after Aaron Judge and going after Correa and going after starting pitching, the one team that is always loud didn't make a damn move, didn't move, not a peep, and that was the LA Dodgers. The LA Dodgers usually make one big move per offseason. We saw it with Freddie Freeman. The year before that, we saw it with Mookie Betts. We can go on and on and on the list where the Dodgers usually make that one big splashy move. One of the main reasons they're doing it's not just to improve their team. They're also trying to rejuvenate, re-energize their fan base out there in Los Angeles. You know, the cost of living out there is through the roof. And to get folks to go out there and want to spend money to watch a baseball game at high prices in Los Angeles, California, you got to do something to kind of move the needle. And so every year, but last year they don't do it. And I felt like what they were doing was they were saying to themselves, all right, we're not going to go out and get a guy who's going to make $25, $30 million a year this year. Because we're going to go out and get the guy next year who's going to ask for that times two. And so we'll save a little bit of money here. I've always said that I feel like Shohei Otani seems like he's going to be a Dodger. I will say this, and we haven't heard much about it, but my dark horse in this has never been the Atlanta Braves. It's always been the Boston Red Sox. They have not made a big move in a while. Their fan base demands results, and their fan base is really at the point where they're like, look, I want a splashy move. I want something that's going to just jump off the damn page. Get me out there, want to go buy a damn jersey. I'm a little surprised that the Yankees and Mets have not been rumored much at all in this deal. I really thought Cohen would be involved, but that was last offseason when they made all the moves that they made at the trade deadline this offseason, getting rid of Scherzer and I mean, even before that, letting DeGrom go, but getting rid of Scherzer, getting rid of Verlander. You could read the tea leaves with the Mets as they are probably going to go a much different route for at least a year or two, trying to build not just their farm system, but do it a little smarter. Because when Cohen first came in with the Mets, the idea was he was just going to go out there and buy himself a championship. He's quickly found out you can't really do that. It's just not the way baseball works. You can do it in the NBA, but you can't really do it in baseball. You've got to be able to build, because you've got so many moving parts to be able to get yourself a championship. Not to mention just be able to get through 162 games. The same thing is true, with the NFL, obviously. NBA, yeah, you can go out there and have the decision and going to take my talents to South Beach, and the next thing you know, that you're winning championships. But you can't do that in Major League Baseball. I just thought that and I've always felt like that Otani had no no desire to live in New York. But I always thought that the Yankees and Mets would want to try. I mean, can you imagine if George Steinbrenner was alive today? He would be pushing every chip in to try to get Shohei Otani. And here's the other thing that no one's really talking much about. The 45-day window, what are we, about 2 weeks into it right now, I believe? The 45-day window on Yamamoto, the Japanese right-handed starting pitcher, who, if you haven't watched him pitch, he's phenomenal. He's 25 years old. That guy's going to break the bank. The posting fee, I've seen so many rumors what the posting fee is going to be. It's going to be out of this world. And it's not every day that a guy comes in on the open market, 25 years old, right-handed starting pitching, a guy who has a lot of swing and miss stuff. And you can have control of him because whoever wins the posting right fee, then, so for folks who aren't familiar with how it works, you bid to be able to negotiate with him. So you're going to put your bid out there, and then after that, the negotiates begin. Because the posting fee, that's just going to the Japanese ball club that has his rights right now. That not a dime of that is going to Yamamoto. Then Yamamoto and his camp are going to want their money. And I think he's going to want a 5-year deal. He's going to want something fairly high. Don't expect it to be like in the same realm of a Carlos Rodon, because he knows, A, he's going to have an opportunity to go back out there on the open market in 4 or 5 years. B, when you're coming over from the Japanese league, there's still some doubt on whether or not you can play at this level. I have no doubt about watching him on the WBC. Man, he is a fun pitcher to watch. I just hope he doesn't end up where I'm afraid he's going to end up, which is the New York Mets. He has got swing and miss stuff. He throws pretty hard, but he's also got touch on his pitches. And he is a guy that he's going to move the needle. If you can sign a Yamamoto, you were talking about being able to reset your rotation with youth. We're not talking about going out and signing a Sonny Gray who's 34. We're not talking about signing a Verlander from last year, which what was Verlander, 39, whatever he was when he signed. We're not talking about adding a Max Scherzer, Jacob DeGrom. You're talking about adding a kid who's 25 and the sky's the limit. So that to me, as far as from the pitching aspect, that's going to be the most intriguing part of this offseason. It's going to be, where do Dylan Cease and Glasnow end up? Whoever gets one of those pieces, they've got themselves a stud. I listened to Dave Roberts today, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he says that not only is Gavin Lux, their shortstop, going to be ready to go for the beginning of the season, because there was some doubt about that, but also Walker Buehler should be 100% ready to go. So they're already kind of getting a huge addition to their pitching rotation. So if they go out and spend a lot of money on Shohei Otani and he can't pitch for 1 year, the Dodgers are going to look at it, hell, we run away with this division every year, we'll be fine. We've got Walker Buehler coming in, and Otani will be ready to roll the following year. What do we have here? Heyman was saving up for Otani. So the Braves, if you're just joining us, the Braves are in the market for Otani. And I don't think there's any doubt that they're trying to land him. I've just always felt like he's going to end up a Dodger, unfortunately, because closer to home, number one, the fan base, and there are people who close to him that have talked about that he's always talked about playing for the Dodgers. Now, I don't know whether or not any of that's true, but that's the reports that are out there. And if that's the case, and look, I mean, all of us would say, what are you talking about? You want to be a Brave, and rightfully so. The one thing that I'll say that is in the Braves' corner, evidently last season, when the Angels came in and played in Atlanta, Otani was very impressed with just the whole thing. Not just the young core of the Braves and the fact that we win, which is very key to him. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to be a part of a winning team. He does not want to be. That's why I think the Angels have no shot in hell. He does not want to be a part of a rebuild organization. That's why I think the Mets are out. He wants to be a part of something and a culture that winning is everything. So that's why if you're handicapping this, you got to put the Dodgers at the top, mainly because of geography. You got to put the San Francisco Giants. People can scoff all they want. San Francisco Giants win year in and year out. And remember, they tried like hell to bring home Judge. They tried like hell to bring home Correa, and then Correa didn't pass his physical. And then the Mets said, look here, look what we got. We're going to score. All right. And then they go, never mind, we don't want Correa either. But the Giants have been involved in all this. And they would love to land him. But the thing is, they're going to have to convince Otani that they're going to put other pieces around him because he doesn't want to be just the one guy. Now, their track record in San Francisco is such where, and remember, they just hired Bob Melvin, which is huge. Bob Melvin goes back home. I thought it was very interesting that Melvin was allowed to interview with that job and listen to the general manager for the San Diego Padres today. And he said Melvin made it clear to him when he first came aboard, there was one gig that he wanted if it ever came open, and that was a San Francisco gig because he's got a house in the area. He came up with that organization. I don't think Melvin necessarily moves the needle for a Shohei Otani type signing, but you're looking at a potential where the Giants just met with Otani. Supposedly he was heading to Los Angeles yesterday or the day before. So those two teams, Dodgers and Giants, are definitely in on him. Cubs are the dark horse team that nobody's talking about. I just don't know if Chicago has sold themselves on him, if that's something he wants to be involved with the Cubs. But I do know that the Cubs have been players, just like the Braves. The Braves are a huge dark horse in this. Reason why I give the Braves an upper hand compared to other teams, other organizations. There's two things that we have that Otani's camp has said that they want. Obviously the main thing he wants is the damn money. But he wants to be a part of a winning team and a team that is built to win going forward. Well, the Braves check all those boxes, right? The Braves absolutely check those boxes because you've got a young core in Atlanta that's going to be there for a long, long time. So you got that. And then the other thing was he really dug his experience when he was in Atlanta. And it went with you, the fans. He loved the fact that the fans were into it. I saw an interview through his interpreter later in the year, and he talked about how electric the environment was. That leads me to believe that all we can ask for is that we got his ear and we've got his ear. But whether or not, the biggest question that none of us know, how much money are we offering comparatively? Now, I don't think we necessarily have to be the biggest offer on the table, but you also can't be mountains behind. For example, last year with the Dansby Swanson thing, when everyone kept thinking we were going to sign Dansby Swanson, and then the rumor came out that he was being offered about $50 million more total across the contract. And with everybody in the know, we knew, we're like, if this is accurate, we got no shot in hell. Who's going to turn down $50 million? That's a little different with Otani, because his contract's going to be between $500 and $600 million. That's bare minimum. So if you're $50 million low on that, spread out over 10 years, that's not the end of the world. I don't think he's going to take the top dollar. I think he's going to take where he thinks that he has the best chance to move forward. But to circle back to the trade that the Braves made with Marco Gonzalez, Jared Kelenic, and Evan White, it appears at least two of those pieces could be moved in the very near future. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with the fact that Otani would probably enjoy living in the Atlanta, Georgia area, because obviously you don't have to live in Atlanta. You can live on the outskirts. And it is much easier to live on the outskirts of Atlanta than it is in New York. I lived in New York City for about 2 years. It's terrible. And I can only imagine what it would be being a baseball player trying to get to and from the park every single night. Now, obviously, he's going to have drivers, and I get all that, and he would get around that. But it is a royal pain to get in and around, just from a standpoint of, and the other thing you got to keep in mind too, his family, wherever he signs this major contract, you got to figure Otani is going to put down roots there for quite some time. And he's going to build something. He's going to build a house in that area. Well, you can definitely build a lot cheaper in the state of Georgia than you can in California or New York. So all of that works in our favor. The only thing that I think the only main thing that hurts us is first of all, I believe that there is a different dollar amount that we're willing to go to if it's Shohei Otani. Meaning, we have worked on a budget for years, and we'll continue to work on that budget. But Shohei Otani is a different animal. If you have the opportunity to sign him, you're willing to break the bank because he's not like signing anybody else. When the Twins went out there and signed Carlos Correa, that's a nice little piece, whatever. And I'm not even talking about his talent. You're not selling a ton of Carlos Correa jerseys in Minnesota. But it doesn't matter where he plays. You're going to sell an ass ton of Otani jerseys, whoever he starts off with next. Because I don't see him coming back as an Angel. I don't think there's any way he comes back as an Angel. So if he's not going to be an Angel, but if he has enjoyed his time in the Southern California area, you got to figure the Dodgers are in play. You also got to figure San Francisco. It's all but been shown that Seattle's out on Otani. The only thing that I would say pump the brakes on that possibly, they just moved a ton of money. Did they move that money because they wanted to go in, and it may not be Otani. I've heard the rumors that it could be, Juan Soto and extending him. It could be a number of things. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back here tomorrow all week during the winter meetings. We're going to be right here 4:00 Eastern on the YouTube channel, Braves Country Radio. If you're listening to it on radio, if you're on the PSF app, find us today, Braves Country Radio. We bring you pitch by pitch, play by play. And this year, if you haven't read the bottom line, this year we are going to do the pregame show and a postgame show, both with open phone lines. And we may open up the phone lines this week if we can get the number up and going. But I'll jot down any of these other comments and talk about them tomorrow as well. Y'all have a great day, y'all. Appreciate you stopping in, and go Braves. And God bless. When it be out? Yeah, tell you what, I sure hope they make a 3X Otani jersey off the jump, because Otani signs with the Braves. I'm on. Let's go. You know that's going to be under everybody's Christmas tree in Braves country. Y'all have a good one.
You're in Braves country.